Well, my first husband, I married the weekend I graduated from college, was very narcissistic. I didn't even know the word at the time. I didn't know the word when I divorced him. I just knew he was controlling and manipulative, and I didn't even know gaslighting at the time, but
I know.
that was what he was doing all the time. And so certainly my first couple of autoimmune issues started with him. And then I rolled into someone that was really very opposite. I thought calm, gentle in some ways, but three master's degrees, Naval Academy grad, Navy SEAL, a very gentle disposition,
Good looking, I'm sure.
good looking, basically getting bread brought by neighbors for taking care of their fish and shoveling the ice off of the neighbor's front pathway. I mean, there was no sign initially that I noticed of narcissism. However, later along the way in dating him, red flags start to go off, and I ignored those. My prefrontal cortex just shut them down and made excuses for them. And I ended up marrying him and then having my daughters with him. And so it got his narcissistic personality disorder and obsessive compulsive personality disorder. It really got worse and worse and worse over time, partly because he was following me around. He had been a lieutenant commander. I was now a commander. I had command. I had people. It was very, very visible. I mean, I had days named after me. I had the keys to the city. I had a piece of art commissioned on my behalf. I had ice sculptures that they made it was just crazy. So I was in the newspaper every week. I was on TV, and all of this is a lot for a narcissist, right?
Right. They
become
love it
right?
because it makes them look good, but at
Yes,
the same time, they resent you because
yes,
it's not them.
yes. And so things were not good. And over time, the problem with children, I mean, he just had no boundaries. Narcissism is tragic for children. So you have to do everything to protect the children from being parentified and blamed. But narcissists are the victim and everybody else is
Yeah,
the
that's
fault.
covert. That's vulnerable. Everybody's against me.
Yeah, he is so, it was
Self-absorbed.
it was really bad. And so it was absolutely my autoimmune disorder was born out of the trauma and the tragedy and the stress. There was a moment in time when I was going to therapy 3 times a week just to survive the whole thing. And I really had to learn. I mean, it almost took me under, right? I had to learn to put my own life mask or my air mask on first, oxygen mask on first to take care of myself because I was going down. And I'm like, if I die, essentially the kids are going to be left with just him. Like, I have got to figure out how to survive this. And I remember thinking, there are women like carrying their babies through the mountains of Afghanistan and across country to try to become free. Surely I can deal with this man. Like, how hard can this be? And it was. I would try, for the sake of the babies, but no, I ended up going, this is going to kill me. I have to get out. Whatever the cost, I have to get out. And it cost 6 years of court battle. Actually ended up being 10 years. 10 years. It was 6 years. I was given full legal and full physical custody. But then after I moved them out of state to go to Culver, Indiana, for them to go to this really great school, then I was served again with papers because apparently I didn't have permission 3 orders back to take them out of state without his written permission, which I hadn't gotten. So I was in contempt of court, apparently. We went back to court and the battle continued for another 4 years. So it was really expensive. I think I spent over $750,000, $750,000 on court
Three
fees,
quarter million.
on attorney fees. Do you know how many times I could put my kids through college with that? And you
But
know
you
that
were both in the military. Tell me how that was for you, knowing that you were both serving in the military at the time.
he was out when I married him, and I got out. I didn't get out right it wasn't right away. It was in the middle of the battle, but we had a prenup that basically I had said, you will not touch my retirement and I will not touch your retirement. But his attorney got that thrown out. So I still pay him money every month
You're paying this
for
asshole?
life, for
Okay,
life.
yeah, audience, I am filtered until I'm not. Okay, you heard the
It
word.
is
My
very,
guests are so polite.
very hard. It's a lot of money. It's a percentage of my retirement,
Can't
and
you find him a woman to marry and torture,
it
and then
doesn't
he
matter.
will
It
stop
doesn't
having
matter.
to pay
This
this?
is for life. It's for life until he
You
dies.
have kids with them. What do the girls say?
I don't get them involved in this kind of thing. They don't need to know that. Like
have you seen anything bad happen to me? Because I can't wait for bad things to happen to me.
Karma. Yeah, he should not be alive. There should have been a drive-by shooting a long time ago. But
a long time, and we don't condone violence here.
Yeah, no.
We can't have a wish list and a little, like fantasy.
Awful. It is awful.
Like we won't be wearing the black dress at the funeral, right?
Yeah, I hear earthquakes in California, fires, and I'm thinking,
fires, wildfires.
Just one guy.
Venezuelan gangs.
So I will tell you, I remembered learning in a class as I was going through the divorce, the arrow to the ex goes through the heart of the child. So I was really careful to not speak ill of my ex, in spite of, my girls would have these very bad experiences, and I would be empathetic and I would be supportive of them without piling on and saying bad things about him, because they're a part, they can say it all day long, but when you say it, you hurt them. And I just will never forget, the arrow to the ex goes through the heart of the child. So, if you're in the middle of a very tough divorce and you're speaking ill of your ex, don't, because it hurts your child.
Absolutely.
You think that you're doing something good, but you're not. So I was very careful to not try to alienate them to him. They're going to make their own decisions around him over time. Neither of them currently talk to him. They really haven't since they went to college and didn't have to anymore.
Does he have any other kids?
He had 2 kids from a first marriage that he gave up for adoption and has no contact with.
Well, good for them because they've been saved.
Yeah.
Your book, can you let us know the name of the book again? Because
it's Become Empowered, Echoes of Grace and Strength. And in this book, I really kind of walk through a little bit of that first husband and some of that experience, and some of the second husband and some of that experience, and then the third husband. And I finally got it right. And I'm finally really happy and in this blessed marriage. And then he gets Alzheimer's. But it talks about the tragedy of these first couple of marriages and the details around that, and then the joy of getting it right, and really kind of following my animal brain and my animal instincts. I finally got smart enough. I finally learned that I have an animal brain, and to trust the hairs on the back of my neck, and to trust more than this, my prefrontal cortex, and really lean into that. And the silver lining in the end of it, and the ability to live in gratitude for what I did have, what I have had, and what I do have right now. And to create with intention, joy in the midst of, I can't go down with the ship, Sandra. I could like just walk in. I could just,
you're like one step away from the cliff, right?
Or
you see the cliff, you're like, nope, I got to go back.
Or I could work hard at this. So I meditate, I exercise, I eat right, I get good sleep, I socialize, I'm doing all the things I know to take care of myself, plus patching, which helps immensely. So yeah, I think that everybody's got their thing. I think we underestimate everybody as they're walking around, everyone walking around looking perfectly fabulous and, wonderful, and like they have their Facebook life looks fabulous and life's perfect. But everyone's got their challenges and their issues. And so I think when we know that and we think about that, we can come to the world in a space where we give a lot more grace.
Absolutely. We show up strong and we show up authentic and genuine, because that's why I did this. Because, I could stay in my little cocoon and be afraid that people are going to judge me and I'm going to have shame because of my life. They say my message was my message. My life was not, people think my life was clean and, whatever, because of the parents, the affluence and all that, the high society, whatever. None of that. It was messy, because as a child, you talk about this, you talk about your children, protecting your children. In my case, my father I don't think he was narcissistic as much. Well, he was a little bit narcissistic, but it was interesting for me because I talked about in a previous video, my father had some women, they were chasing him. These women drooling. They're like vampires. They want that supply. They were narcissistic. I think the women, and I did a video saying that women narcissism is on the rise.
I watched that video.
Yeah, it is just nonsense, because women are getting the pass. Somebody said to me, I can't talk about black women. I can't talk about women. I'm like, no. You will be called out by me. All of you women in leadership that are making me look bad, because it reflects on me. Because when I step into or follow your footprint into a door, they remember how you were before we dive back in. It is a pleasure to tell you that my book, Sendor Inner Luxury, Unlock the Secret to Your Luxurious Self, now on Kindle, and as well as on paperback. So feel free to rush and get a copy for your loved ones. In addition, if you are loving these extraordinary conversations about luxury, about balance, about emotional intelligence, about a little bit of politics, a little bit of spirituality, if you're loving all of it, well, rush to Amazon and get my book. You will learn emotional balance is from within. You will learn to elevate yourself to the frequency that you wish to express in the world. So there can be more love, more peace, more harmony. But there's more. You can rush to pre-order my next book, which is Sindor, Guide to Luxury Living and Emotional Balance. Well, for me, my brand is all about living from within, emotional balance, emotional intelligence, and luxury. And for me, these books are flowing endlessly from me to you with so much love. Let me know what you think. Let me know after you read it. Put a comment, put a review. I'd love to hear from you. And if I check any boxes that's similar to you, they're going to pigeonhole me and say, oh, no, that's yours. So do you know what? You may have opened that door, but that door is going to close on me because of your bad acting. So you're going to be called out. And I do need to be mindful because women are abusing their kids right now. There is a rise in women who are killing their kids, drowning, whatever they're doing. So I think for us, racism is not something we need to add to culture, gender, or whatever. We just need to look at the individual. If they're an asshole, they're an asshole, right?
And narcissism is not something they can get cured from, and you need to.
No, they're not willing. You gotta be willing. First step, recovery.
Yeah,
you have a problem.
Yeah. And nobody can first just say, if I'm a narcissist, my ex-husband actually said this. Well, if I'm a narcissist, everybody should want to be a narcissist because I'm fabulous. And I thought, you can almost have this. It's
toxic person.
You have to actually get away. You have to get away.
There is value in that valley, right? So tell us that. So you talked about your growth and your finally finding the love of your life, and now you're dealing with this experience of dementia. But also, the stronger you really became the hashtag G.I. Jane, right? Because of that, you can survive narcissism, and I have, because the world I exist in, whether it's the political world or the business world, people are toxic in those worlds. And let's not forget, Wall Street is a haven for crack addiction and heroin and what do you call it? People like crack? Yeah, they're smoking crack behind a closed door because they want to close that deal. Crack, heroin, prostitution, pornography, all of it. They've got to get the next stint. So I coexist with these people intentionally, but I do see the skid marks. After I've had this kind of interaction, I could see how it feels yucky to be that kind of person. They're just not good. So that said, I want to thank you. So this is kind of a long behind the scene. I think we might just have to make this another episode for those women, because I do know women. I have a friend who is divorcing a narcissist now. And so this is essential because you were commander. Because the thing is, people think that because you rise in the ranks, you don't have issues, that it comes automatically with respect. No. As a matter of fact, when you show up strong as a woman, they want to crush you. There are some insecure people, and that's on both sides. My brother was a good person, and that woman that he married, and I hope she's listening, she wanted to just control. She hated me. She hated my mother, and God bless her. I'm glad you're doing you, boo. Be you. All I'm saying is, they come in all size, shapes, or form. And you being a commander, I can imagine what kind of draw that was for that person. The supply, the idea of look at me, I'm with the commander. But at the same time, resenting it, I should be that commander. See, the thing is, the only thing I don't have is the PhD in narcissism officially, but the information, it's all in my head. So tell us again, how long did it take you from the time that you recognized it to the time that you got out of that situation? And you're still technically tied to it, which means that for you, it's a life situation.
So I still remember the counseling session when the counselor said, I think you have narcissistic personality disorder. And I remember going home, looking up the criteria and going, check, 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 check. Yeah, he has all of these. and then going to 2 other therapists to say, well, what do you do for this? Because he refused to go back to that therapist. And then we went to 2 other, and they said, I'm like, is this curable? And they're like, no. And so I think I lasted another less than a year in the house. And then I separated. That moment of separation was probably the hardest. We were living in Coronado, California. It was very expensive there. It was like impossible to find a place for me to live where I could afford to be and keep the kids in the same school. And it was really the big leap right there. But I have to say, getting on the other side, one of the first things I did was I asked for a bifurcation while I had a restraining order in place because there was abuse, physical and emotional.
Sorry for that.
Thank you. So I needed to get out, and I wanted to have a divorce while the restraining order was in place. So I asked, and then I was like, attorney, I need you to figure this out. And she said, well, we could do a bifurcation. A bifurcation is an actual it's like a divorce, but you haven't resolved all the issues of child custody or finances yet, but you are officially divorced. I wanted that so there was a final like nail in the coffin, and he would really get it and understand it while the restraining order was in place. So that was really huge, getting that bifurcation, having us be officially divorced, because he was still trying to hold on for really, part of why we had to keep going and going is he was in the fight just to be connected with me. That it caused conversation. It caused us to see each other in court. It caused him to stay connected. So it was unfortunate. To answer your question, the separation was huge. I did find a place, and it was like a spiritual retreat. It was so good for my soul. I think I thought it was going to be very hard to be separated. It was lovely to be separated. It was fabulous to be on my own with the kids. I was able to breathe again. I did worry about bugs, and I worried about like him infiltrating my space. And, I found out he tapped my computer. He forwarded all my emails. He did illegal activity, and got away with it, actually, even though Navy Criminal Investigation Service got involved. The FBI got involved. They did find that that his computer had